If you've been wondering how to tailor your nutrition specifically to your short girl or petite girl frame to lose weight, tone up, and feel powerful in your smaller frame, then this video is for you, because this is the most extensive nutrition resource I have ever made for our petite girl community. And it is going to give you all the tools, tips, tricks, and actionable steps to lose weight the healthy and sustainable way, in a way that is tailored for your nutritional needs as a petite woman. And I'm April, in case we haven't met. I'm the founder of Petite Power, and I've helped thousands of petites transform their bodies and mind and improve their lifestyles to lose fat, tone up, build muscle, and increase their metabolisms without taking away calories and restricting, without doing tons of dieting and cardio. And today, these are the exact same tips that I used when I went from this to this. I lost 15 pounds. This was about 7 or 8 years ago now. And I use the nutrition principles that I'm going to teach you today. This is the essential nutrition guide for petite women. Before we get started, I'd love to ask a quick favor from you. If you are a short or petite woman, hit that subscribe button and then hit the notification bell. My goal is to get to 10% of all of our subscribers have their notifications turned on. So if you are already subscribed but you don't have notifications turned on, go ahead and hit that bell. We've been able to get the percentage up from 5% to 6.1% in the last few months, and I would love to see us get to 7% by next month. So let's dive into it. Section 1, why is petite nutrition different? So as petite women, we have unique nutritional needs because our bodies happen to burn fewer calories than taller people. This just means we need to be extra mindful about what we eat and how much we eat to make sure that we are fueling properly and are not overeating. So all you need to know is that petite women have naturally slower metabolisms than taller individuals. This is largely due to our smaller body size, and just as a result, we burn fewer calories in a day. This does not mean that you should go and eat less food and diet. This actually means that we need to learn strategies to fuel properly and avoid overeating. We're gonna learn how to eat the right balanced foods to keep you fuller for longer. And this is gonna allow you to burn fat and build muscle in a way that hasn't been possible through cardio and dieting and those things that you've tried in the past. Secondly, nutrition is different for petites because portions out in the world are often not made for us smaller individuals. They're usually double the size of what we need in a lot of cases, or they're not balanced properly from a macronutrient ratio standpoint. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to tailor the world's food to your needs. This is going to serve as the most extensive resource I've ever made for petites from a dietetics nutrition standpoint. And I suggest that you just listen to this on a walk if you can't watch it all. Even feel free to speed it up, listen to it several times, save it for later, bookmark it. You're going to want to come back to this one. So section 2 is going to be about understanding your macronutrients, or what I call PFF. This can either be petite friendly foods, which is cute, or protein, fats, and fiber. Getting the right balance of macros is so important as a petite, and I suggest, if you want to just know what my recommendation is for a macro ratio for you as a petite, I suggest that you use my fat burning macros ratio of 35% proteins, 25% fats, and 40% carbohydrates, including your fiber. This is specific for petite women, by the way. With this macronutrient ratio, you're gonna stay satiated, full, you're not gonna be hungry, but you're also gonna be able to start to meaningfully change your body composition, so lose fat and maintain or build muscle. Let's go through each of them so you know what they are and how to include them in your diet. First of all, there's protein. This is a non-negotiable for petites. You need high amounts of protein, or at least more than you think you need probably, in order to achieve optimal health as a petite. I want you to aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of your current body weight. And this is for petites. If you're over 135 pounds, cap your protein intake around 135 grams of protein maximum per day, so that you can allocate other calories to your carbs and your fats. If you're like, April, what is all the math behind that? 1 pound per whatever, then just aim for 100 grams of protein per day. That is an easy way to get started. You can see here, these are some examples of protein sources. You want to stick to whole foods when it comes to your macronutrients. This could include, any lean meats, ground meats, eggs, low-fat dairy, cheeses. You see up here all of the options for that. It's not extensive. There's lots more proteins, but it's just an idea so you know what a protein is. Protein is important because it shuts down your hunger signals and your hunger cues and keeps you full. It keeps you satiated. It also helps promote a healthy metabolism. It helps build and repair muscle, which is the foundation of a healthy metabolism. So as a petite, we want a lot of protein to keep us full and not reaching for sugar and carbs and snacks. Next up is fats. Fats are so important for women, particularly for your hormones, your brain functioning, and as a woman, it's just a really important part of your diet. They're also going to keep you fuller longer because they are more calorie dense. There's 9 calories in a gram of fat as compared to 4 calories in protein and 4 in carbohydrates. So it is going to keep you much more full in a lower amount of, or a lower quantity of it. So it's just more packed with calories, basically. They're also the longest to break down in the digestive tract, so they will keep you full. Remember, fats are taking up about 25% of your calories for the day, and it includes things like oils, avocado, seeds, nuts, those types of things. Let's talk about carbohydrates. Now, carbs is a very misunderstood macronutrient. There's different types of carbs, which really confuses people, but all you need to know is this. There's simple carbs, there's complex carbs. As a petite, it's important to focus on the complex carbs most of the time. These are usually your starches and your fibers. These are sweet potatoes, quinoa, etc. These are going to give you sustained energy as opposed to the simple carbs, which are like your sugars and candies and white breads, pastas. You're going to burn through them really quick and then be hungry again. Fiber is a type of carbohydrate that is essential for petite women. It is not digested in the same way that simple or complex, or I should say simple carbs are. It's not broken down as sugar in the bloodstream. It's actually just bulks up your poo. It increases and promotes It promotes better digestion, and it adds just roughage to everything moving through the system, if you know what I mean. Petite women and women in general should aim for 20 to 30 grams of fiber daily, and this is going to count towards your overall carb intake for the day. And this is mostly coming from fruits and vegetables, avocado, berries, plums, pears, any types of vegetables, certain seeds, chia seeds, ground flax seeds. This is how you're going to get your fiber intake up, and it's going to keep you full, and it's going to help you regulate your blood sugar, which I'm going to get into later. But it has its own letter in our acronym PFF because it is so important. So if you want to start food journaling, then you'll enter your macro goal, and we'll get into how many calories later, but you'll enter that fat burning macro percentage breakdown into your app. And if you want to go the intuitive route, I suggest using my palm method, which is where you use your palm to measure your correct portion size. So you'll look at the palm of your hand. This is about an ounce of protein. So you'll aim for 1 to 2 palms in a meal. About a thumb size of fats, because remember, they're more calorically dense. So we don't need as much. That could be like your avocado, which would be like 1/4 of an avocado, your like dressings or olive oil or seeds, etc., peanut butter, these types of things. And then of course the rest is going to carbohydrates. You can use your palm to do a cupped hand or a fist. It's really important to have an emphasis on whole foods as the foundation of this video because that's going to have the biggest impact on your overall health and nutrition and metabolism. And if you can cook really delicious things with whole foods if you start cooking a little bit more or just start simplifying your meals. While we're on the topic of whole foods, I have to mention something that I've been obsessed with lately, which is today's sponsor, GEM. They are a whole food multivitamin supplement. Normally I do take a multivitamin daily, but I personally always struggled with pills and swallowing large pills. That's probably true for a lot of us petites around here. And also, isolated pills and gummies and powders can be full of synthetic fillers and ingredients, and you won't be able to get the powerful antioxidants that you can only get from real whole foods. So Gem Bites are super cool because it is a whole foods multivitamin supplement that is formulated for optimal absorption. They use real food ingredients that your body already knows and loves versus synthetic sources. And because they are made from actual real foods, the ingredients are actually more bioavailable than what you'd find in a pill, so you can absorb more of it readily. Each Gem Bite is packed with 20 vitamins, minerals, superfoods, probiotics, and prebiotics. And I've been taking one every single morning with my breakfast now for the last several months. So far, it's been a few months, I've seen an improvement in my hair, my skin, my nails, and my digestion. And I also haven't gotten sick once since I started taking them. And right now for my community, Gem is offering 50% off of your first month. Go to dailygem.com/AprilVictoria and use my code AprilVictoria to get your deal now. I've also linked it down below in the description so that you don't miss out. So now that we've covered macronutrients and whole foods, let's talk about setting your caloric needs and calories. So how many calories should you be eating as a petite? And this is where things can get tricky, because if you eat too few calories, you are going to slow down your metabolism and make fat loss harder in the future. But if you eat too many calories as a petite, you will store them as excess fat and end up gaining weight. So step one to figuring out your caloric needs is to keep a food journal, okay? Don't be tempted to use those online calorie calculators that tell you how many calories you should eat in a day. If you've been to my channel ever before, I always say these are the worst tools ever for petites. They're not made for us, they're not tailored for us, they don't have us in mind, and they're gonna give you a really, really, really low number that is going to make weight loss very hard in the long term. So don't use the online calorie calculators. Instead, keep a food journal using any of the apps, log your food for 3 days, and see what your daily average intake is over the course of a few days. Once you have that number, come back to this video. I'm gonna give you what you should do with your calories depending on what number you got out of that exercise. If you're a petite woman who's been eating over 18 or 1900 calories per day consistently, you're in luck because you have a lot of room to lose weight. You have a lot of room in your diet where we can cut a few calories off, you can see sustainable weight loss and not feel hungry. I typically see this with my petites who are slightly higher in BMI, have a little bit of excess weight they want to lose, they're higher in calories to start with. This is actually a good thing. You can safely do a standard calorie deficit if you're at that number of calories per day as a petite, but just don't go into a steep or extreme calorie deficit. Cut, 100 calories, 200 calories, gradually increase your deficit over time. Do not cut 500 calories off the gate. That will not help you in the long run. Start a slow, steady calorie deficit. Now, this is not gonna be the majority of you. That's gonna be like 1% of petites. The rest of us are probably gonna fall somewhere in a lower calorie range to start with. So if you're around 1500 calories a day, you have some options. You can keep your calories right where they are and focus on changing what you're eating instead of how much, meaning your macronutrients. So focus on the protein, fats, and fiber. Or you can do a very, very, very slight deficit, 50 calories less per day, something small like that, and combine that with exercise, which I'm not covering in this video, to create a little bit more of a deficit. But either way, just focusing on the quality of your nutrition over the quantity here is gonna be important since you're already in a good place calorically. Now, if you're under 1400, 1300 calories per day, do not do a slight calorie deficit. Don't do a calorie deficit. If you're under 1200 calories a day, if you're way down there, doing a calorie deficit is not the right step for you as a petite. Now, this is where most of us are at. We're starting to do diets. We're eating less than 1000 calories a day because that's what the internet is saying. But as a petite, this is going to put your metabolism in a rut. It's going to make you weight loss resistant, meaning you can't lose weight in the future after those initial 5 pounds are dropped because you have no more calories you can take away. So do not fall for this. Instead, use my fat burning macros ratio for petites and start to look at your quality of your food, how much protein you're getting in a day, and focus on changing that rather than changing the overall number of calories that you're eating. And just a pro tip here, don't get too focused on the calories because it's never 100% accurate anyways. If you're focusing on your macros and the qualities of your food, you're going to see results. You don't have to track every little thing, but it is helpful as a tool when you're getting started. Let's move into section 4, and that's gonna be what order you eat your macros in, because it does actually matter, and a lot of us don't know this. Especially for petites, it's really important. Protein and fiber should be your priority in every single meal as a petite and your snacks because it promotes muscle retention, it keeps you full and satiated, and it'll prevent you from overeating. So you're gonna eat your protein that's on your plate first, or fiber. You could also start with your fiber, which would be like a salad or vegetables, or the protein. This matters a lot because you want the first thing that hits your blood sugar and affects your blood sugar to be something stabilizing, and start working on your leptin and ghrelin, your hormones, and shutting down hunger cravings very first. So protein or fiber is first. Fats will be second, so focusing on eating whatever is, like the peanut butters or whatever is second. And sometimes they're mixed together, but most of the time you can prioritize the protein first at least, and leave your carbohydrates for last. Your simple carbs, your refined carbs, if you're eating those. Even your starches, your pastas, breads, any of that, leave that for last. So protein and fiber, fats, and then lastly carbs. This leads me into section 5, which is regulating your blood sugar levels for sustained energy and optimizing it for fat loss. Stable blood sugar is key for energy and also fat loss, especially for petites because we are more sensitive to blood sugar spikes. If you take a look at this diagram, I'm gonna teach you how our blood sugar works and how fat storage works. When you have a carbohydrate, this is a fast digesting type of food that we just talked about, breaks down as sugar in the bloodstream. If you eat a lot of it and you don't food combine, so you don't pair it with your fats and your fibers and your proteins, it's going to result in a high level of sugar in your bloodstream, hence the blood sugar spike. Now, to balance your blood sugar levels, your body is going to release a hormone called insulin. This is a fat storage hormone because insulin comes into the bloodstream. It takes all of these sugars out of the blood and goes to store it in the liver and other parts of the body for long-term storage, or it will store it as fat. That's if you're not exercising or making immediate use of the sugars, which most of the time we're not. The goal is not to avoid blood sugar spikes because they will naturally happen, but we want to make sure that the spikes are not huge spikes and more like rolling hills. So rather than these giant valleys and peaks and valleys, we want it to just be rolling hills whenever we have a meal. And here's what you're gonna do to regulate your blood sugar levels as a petite. First of all, as a general rule of thumb, you want to avoid refined sugars and processed carbohydrates basically at any cost. So avoid reaching for sugary snacks, avoid reaching for processed carby things that you see in the middle aisles of the grocery store typically, and instead reach for whole food sugars like fruits and vegetables and other carbohydrates like grains that are gonna keep you from having energy crashes. So avoid the simple sugars, avoid the candies and the chips and the things that are just going to immediately cause a sugar spike and an insulin spike. Secondly, avoid eating any of your carbs if you are eating processed ones or refined ones, and even if you're eating your complex healthy carbs, avoid eating them naked or alone. Use food combining and pair all of your carbs with a fat and a protein to make sure that you slow down the digestion and the absorption of the sugars in your bloodstream. That will result in less of a blood sugar spike. For example, instead of just eating a banana, eat it with peanut butter and yogurt. That will be a fat and a protein. So you're starting to see by now that it's not about eating less, it's about strategically eating so that you can control your weight management. Here's a pro tip. If you find that you are suffering from frequent energy crashes, take a look at the meals that you're eating throughout the day. They might have way too much carbs in them compared to protein and fats, and you may need to reduce the carbs and increase the protein and fats in those meals. Section 6, high volume foods for petites. This is a really great strategy because as a petite, you don't have to eat less. You just have to learn what foods you can eat more of. Volume foods are low calorie, nutrient dense options that keep you full and take up a lot of space in your stomach. So they give you a lot of the sensation of eating a lot of food without necessarily coming with a huge caloric price tag. Here are my top favorite high volume foods. Leafy greens, always having like a big salad with your meals, cucumbers, zucchini, cauliflower. These are all great ways to bulk up your meals and they help make your plate feel full. You can also choose foods like berries, mushrooms, spaghetti squash, which happen to be higher in fiber, so they're gonna take up a lot of volume and also keep you full with the fiber. You can also incorporate water-rich foods such as watermelon, cucumbers, tomatoes, and celery into your recipes, which will help you feel full as well. Plus, they boost hydration, which is always great. Huge tip here, avoid nutrient-dense, high-calorie, low-volume foods as a petite. Let me give you some top prime examples of this. I used to think I was healthy back in college because I would eat these foods that were deemed healthy, but they're actually not at all for petites. They're basically weight gainers for petites. This would be nut butters, like peanut butters and nut butters. Any bag of nuts, candied nuts. Dried fruits is a huge one because it's basically just sugars that are left over and it's so low volume you don't get the hydration from a real fruit that has water in it. Cheese or like cheese boards in large amounts or high full fat cheeses. Olive oil is a big one. Instead of free pouring, get an olive oil spray. Not to mention a handful of raisins, dried fruit, or granola is another one that is going to take up a very little amount of space in your stomach and give a lot of calories for it. So it's not really good bang for your buck. So pro tip, if you are gonna eat those foods because they're yummy, they're good, just make sure you fill up first with a big bowl of like steamed vegetables or a salad that you like, and then move on to your more calorie dense foods after so that you've already worked on your blood sugar and your hunger. Section 7 is carb cycling and portion control. Carb timing matters for petites, so when you eat them as well as how much, especially for petites, because eating them at the right time will give you energy without resulting in fat storage. It also will help with building muscle, which will speed up your metabolism naturally if you're strength training. So here are my actionable steps for carb timing. Step 1, eat most of your simple carbs or carbs in general around your workouts. So pad your workouts before and or after with your carbs. Maybe eat 50% of your overall carbs for the day closer around your workouts. This is gonna give your body the energy it needs to perform well and recover afterwards. And it's gonna put those calories to use so that your blood sugar does not spike. You don't have an insulin spike. Instead, when the sugar enters your bloodstream, you're putting it into the muscles, which are then exercising and moving. So you're not having them go into long-term fat storage. Another tip you can do here is on days where you're not as active, you don't work out as hard, maybe it's just a regular day, you're just walking or a rest day, you can eat 20% fewer carbohydrates, for example, on those days. That would be how you could carb cycle to begin with. As far as portion control for carbs, I also see petites overdoing it on the carbs in a lot of meals. For example, you don't need a whole cup of oats in the morning, just a fourth or a third of cup of oats, once it absorbs all the water, becomes a substantial meal. So aim for less carbs overall if you are overeating them to begin with. You might not be, but this depends on the individual. A good rule of thumb would be probably a half a cup of a carb that you're used to eating, if it's an oatmeal, for example, or banana, fruit, something like that. Half a cup to a cup, except for oats. That, because it expands with water, you don't need a full cup of oats. If you're feeling sluggish or low energy, just take a look at your carb intake in relation to your protein intake and do some rebalancing. That's gonna help your energy levels a lot. Section 8 is supplements for petites. Like we just talked about, I'm excited about this because supplements for petites have a place that can be very powerful for us and help us get a little bit ahead on some of these goals. Obviously, supplements are not meant to replace whole foods. They're just meant to fill gaps in your diet and make reaching your protein goals, for example, a little bit easier. A really good supplement that I suggest all petite women use is a protein powder supplement. I like to use one that has very few ingredients, like just whey isolate and maybe vanilla extract. So look for minimal ingredients, look for whey isolate if you're okay having dairy, and if you need a plant-based protein, that's okay too. You can do pea protein, you can do something that is not involving the animal protein. This is gonna help you reach your protein goals faster because you could have 1 or 2 scoops a day, and that'll help you reach that first 30 grams that you need out of the 100 of the day. Like I said earlier, a high quality multivitamin is going to help fill the gaps in your vitamin deficiencies and needs, especially if you don't eat a wide range of foods or you don't eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. Having a high quality vitamin is great. And like I mentioned, Gem is the one I love and I take because it is already a whole food that is packed with the vitamins and minerals you need. So definitely suggest having some kind of high quality ingredient multivitamin. Other vitamins that aren't really as necessary but might be important, a common one is vitamin D3. A lot of us don't get enough sunlight, so vitamin D3 is a good supplement. Magnesium is great for muscle recovery and sleep. And lastly, electrolytes. Electrolytes are a type of salt that help replenish you and keep you hydrated in addition to water. So on a day that's particularly hot or you're exercising a lot, you could have some electrolytes in your diet. An easy hack for this is also just to put some pink Himalayan salt or some salts in the foods you eat naturally if they are sodium free, like you're cooking your foods at home. Section 9 is hydration and the role it plays in your petite body. Hydration is a game changer for a petite looking to lose weight. I cannot emphasize this enough because it prevents overeating. When you're fully hydrated, you are not going to be reaching for snacks. You're not going to be hungry. It's going to be able to keep you full, which is so important for reaching a calorie goal and losing weight sustainably. So how much water should you drink as a petite? I want you to aim for 2 liters a day minimum. If you're just at less than a liter a day, just start with 1 liter and work up. I have a water bottle that is 1 liter and I drink 2 of these a day. I try to have 1 completely drank by noon and then I start on my 2nd after lunch and I'm usually done and on my 3rd by dinner. So get a water bottle and try to hit 2 liters of water per day. Another thing you can do is focus on hydrating foods such as watermelon and cucumbers. Fruits and vegetables are also going to help keep you hydrated throughout the day. Lastly, for hydration, I just mentioned electrolytes. I'm going to mention them again here, but I do want to pull out the caveat that for petites, you probably don't need the whole packet. If you're supplementing with an electrolyte powder, use half because it is dose dependent and we don't need the whole pack. Just use a little bit and that will help you stay hydrated and replenish lost vitamins and minerals from sweat. And pro tip here, if you're hungry between meals, make sure that you drink some water in between because our brains confuse thirst and hunger. And sometimes we're not hungry, we just think we are, when in reality, we're actually dehydrated. So if you try to get a water bottle, drink 1 liter, in the morning, drink 1 in the afternoon, you're gonna be set. Drink and chug some water in between meals. You're gonna feel a lot more full and satiated. Section 10 is hormones and nutrition for petites. As petites, our hormone balance can be more impacted by changes in nutrition than bigger or taller folks. And this means it's extra important for us to eat in a way that supports our hormonal balance and hormonal health. I'm going to talk about some hormones that are really important to us as women and how nutrition specifically can impact them and influence them, and what you can change to balance your hormones more naturally through nutrition in your diet. Up first is estrogen and progesterone. These are really important hormones that are impacted by our fat intake. So fat as a macronutrient is so important to help regulate, produce, and balance these hormones as petites. So make sure you're getting your avocados, your healthy seeds, your fish oils in, so that you can help support these specific hormones. I also have to say, in general, how many calories you eat can impact your hormones overall. And eating too few calories, doing an extreme diet, can lead to imbalanced hormones, missing your period, fatigue, and mood swings. So make sure you're eating enough calories to begin with to help support metabolism and hormones, especially as a petite, since we are tending to be in a lower caloric intake to begin with. Insulin and cortisol, we've already talked about insulin. I also want to mention cortisol, because when you skip meals, when you don't eat, when you go too long without eating or you delay food, you actually have a spike in cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And conversely, we already talked about blood sugar. When you eat too many carbs in one sitting, or you don't food combine and pad your carbs, you can get a huge increase in insulin, a blood sugar spike followed by an insulin spike. So to keep your cortisol and your insulin in balance, make sure you're eating regular meals. Don't skip meals. As a petite, aim for 3 full meals a day. They should keep you full for at least 3 to 4 hours plus a snack, and you should be in a good place. Leptin and ghrelin are hormones that dictate your hunger and satiety levels. Leptin tells your brain you're full, whereas ghrelin tells your brain that you're hungry. This is really important for petites, because if you are eating in a way such that your leptin and ghrelin levels are going crazy, you're going to be hungry all the time, and then you're not going to be able to stick to a nutritional plan or a diet or lose the weight you want to lose. So make sure you're balancing your meals, PFF, eating lots of fiber, and this is going to help regulate your leptin and ghrelin. And also, another reason to avoid extreme diets, extreme dieting or going really low in calories can lead to a drop in leptin, which means that you're not going to feel full even when you're eating enough calories. So don't do the extreme diets. Another reason. I want to talk about a hormone that we're seeing everywhere right now, which is GLP-1. Yes, it's the same hormone that is in Ozempic and Wegovy and the weight loss injectables. This is a naturally occurring hormone already in our bodies, and it helps regulate blood sugar levels, it helps curb cravings, and it promotes satiety after a meal. You can naturally support your GLP-1 production in your body by just taking care of yourself, eating PFF, eating balanced, doing a lot of the things I've already talked about in this video, getting enough fiber, fats, and keeping your blood sugar levels steady. That will help support natural GLP-1 promotion in your body. Special note here, I just want to say, listen to your body as a petite. There is no one size fits all, even for petites. So try different things out and make sure you are tuning into yourself. If you're feeling low levels of energy, you're missing your periods, ask your doctor, and also ask yourself, what could you be doing with your nutrition to better support your hormonal balance and stay and feel more regular overall? Because the fatigue, the missing the periods, that can all be a sign that your hormones are imbalanced. And nutrition is one of the easiest ways, or I shouldn't say easiest, but free, straightforward ways that you can start to repair that without, being medicated or taking more extreme measures or doing expensive tests, for example. Section 11 is eating and ordering out, dining out, and also eating food on the go. I'm sure a lot of you have watched this and thought, well, April, I can't just eat every single meal at home, and you're not supposed to. You're supposed to learn how to translate this knowledge into real life and be able to make good choices even when you're on the go, ordering out, etc. So this section is going to help you feel confident about that. It's really important when petites eat out to be mindful of portion control and also the types of choices that you're making when making selections on a menu. So here's the top steps to take when you're eating out. First of all, always prioritize protein. Choose the meal option that's going to have the most protein. It's going to keep you satiated. It's going to set you up for success. Don't ever, well, I shouldn't say don't ever, because sometimes we just have fun meals, right? But this is for the majority of time, or 70% of your life. Try not to order meals that are just like all carbs and fats and are not going to make you feel great. You do want to prioritize protein and choose one of those meals like the tofu, the fish, the salmon, the chicken, the whatever it may be, tofu, I said that, eggs, something that has protein as the center of the meal. Secondly, watch your portions, because restaurants typically give you portions that are twice the size of what you need as a petite, because everyone is bigger than us, and also America just makes big portions. So I like to think when I get something served in front of me at a restaurant, is this the portion I would naturally feed myself if I were home? It's usually way bigger than what I would eat if I was cooking for myself. So I take that moment, check in with my body, and if it's just not what I would have at home, I just cut it in half. I split a meal with a friend. I order appetizers instead of huge entrees, or just get a to-go box. But just tuning into the portion size at the beginning of the meal before you dive in can help save a lot of calories. Number 3, customize your order and don't be afraid to make modifications. A great rule of thumb for petites is just cutting all your dressings, sauces, and dips in half. You just don't need all those liquid calories. They're they're calorie dense and low volume, so they're not helping us as petites with our weight loss goals and feeling good. So you can cut those in half or order them on the side. Inquire about the food preparation. Is it fried? Is it baked? What's the prep? And try to go for grilled or baked or, raw foods rather than the fried foods. Feel free to also ask for substitutions. You can see if they have salad or vegetables instead of French fries, and a lot of times restaurants are super happy to make those accommodations. Always have smart choices on the go, things that you can bring with you so that you don't end up feeling starving and then you just eat anything that's available or the first thing you see. I like to carry protein bars. I love the Mez Club bar, chomps like beef jerky, hard-boiled eggs, cheeses, things that are easy to take with you on the go. And if you have to go to a convenience store, just don't fall for the high processed sugars and carbs. Don't fall for the sugary drinks. Try to get something that has a protein in it. At a restaurant, I would also say just skip the bread when it comes out. You don't want to have carbs, remember, at the very start of your meal. They usually put it out before your meal. So either skip the bread because it's just gonna set your blood sugar up for a roller coaster, or hold on to the bread and eat it when your entree comes or after your entree, and you can enjoy it then. Lastly, I like to commit before a girls' night out or a dinner on if I'm gonna have an alcoholic drink or a dessert. I just choose one or the other so that I can fully enjoy it and I don't feel like I'm overindulging and then over, 600 calories for the day, which can easily happen between a dessert and an alcoholic drink, probably more than that. So I like to just commit, I'm picking one, enjoying it, and that helps me maintain some level of fun, but also balance when I eat out. Pro tip is to plan ahead. Check the menus before you go out, make good choices, look at where you're gonna be for the day and pack snacks. Always just think about future you and what do you need to do to be prepared to set yourself up for success and your blood sugar up for success. After a while, this just becomes second nature and a habit. The key is to just prevent yourself from having to make impulse decisions where you'll be so hungry you'll choose something that won't feel good to eat. So just don't let that happen by planning ahead a little bit. Section 12 is on navigating special diets such as plant-based, veganism, or food sensitivities, gluten, and dairy. Certain diets have become really popular over the years, but it's really important as a petite to understand how these diets could affect you as a petite and how to adapt to them to meet your needs and your goals if you're still going to follow these diets. First of all, for my plant-based eaters, if you're following a plant-based diet, it's essential that you do a little bit more planning than everybody else to make sure you're getting enough protein. You're going to have to plan what you eat ahead of time and work really hard to get protein in because it's not going to be a part of your meals supernaturally. A lot of times the plant-based protein options also just come naturally with higher carbs, like beans, for example. What you can do to adapt is lower your protein goal to 100 grams a day. So just aim for that 90 to 100 and you'll be in a good spot, make it more achievable. And secondly, plan your meals out in advance and try to opt for protein in every single meal and use a plant-based protein powder supplement. You can also focus on options like lentils and tempeh and just those higher protein plant-based options. I have to make a special note to mention like keto, paleo, or just diets that completely eliminate entire food groups. Under no reason should you really ever eliminate an entire food group. I mean a macronutrient, a protein, fat, or a carb. I'm not talking about like gluten or whatever, that's not a food group. I just mean a macronutrient, unless you absolutely have to. There's only 3 foods in the world, protein, fats, and carbs. If you're eliminating an entire one, you are missing out on essential nutrients you need, and they're not gonna help you with weight loss in the long run to cut these things out. So keto, cutting out carbs for your whole life, not realistic, not healthy. Just don't do it. It's not good nutrition. You need carbs, you need fats, you need these things in your diet. Now, common food allergies and sensitivities like dairy or gluten-free can make these choices a little bit harder, but my biggest recommendation to you is to look at the alternatives and substitutions that are available to you in the grocery store. There's so many good options now, especially for dairy-free. You can compare, like if you're looking at yogurts, compare in the grocery store back to back the two different nutrition labels and look at the fats, look at the sugars that are added or not added, look at the protein content. You'll see huge differences between different non-dairy options or substitutes and make an informed decision. Over time, you'll find your brands that you know serve your macro goals the best, and you'll just use those brands and buy from those. But not all yogurts and options are the same or created equal. You do want to just look at the back and plan a little bit. And just like my plant-based eaters, you're going to have to plan your meals a little bit more in advance to make sure you're hitting your protein goal. For dairy-free people, there's also a lot of lactose-free based products today that still have a high protein content, so you can try those. Again, no diet is one size fits all, even for Petites, so this is going to be majorly like you tailoring it to your needs and also trying to hit those good metrics of nutrition that will help you with your weight maintenance, with your energy levels, with feeling good, and a little bit of planning just goes such a long way. Okay, section 13 is a really important one because we've talked so much about food, but we need to talk about mindset around food and the psychology of eating, especially as a petite where restriction is really in our histories. It's where a lot of us have come from mentally and are trying to eliminate some of those bad old habits. The mindset around eating is important because it largely impacts your relationship with food and your long-term weight maintenance, aka your ability to maintain your results for the rest of your life. As a petite, it is absolutely critical that you maintain and you build this healthy relationship with food so that you can actually keep the weight off forever and you don't fall back into old habits. So here's my recommendations for how to tune into your body and promote or start to chart out a better relationship with food. First of all, if you're not tracking or you don't want to track, you don't want to do any of that, that's okay. I want you to start focusing in and tuning into your own hunger cues using what I call the hunger fullness scale. This is a scale that starts at 1 and goes to 10. 1 is you're starving and 10 is you're absolutely stuffed. Before meals, you can check in with your body and ask yourself, where am I on the scale? Am I a 4? Am I a 5? Where am I at? Am I a 10? Am I stuffed? And that's gonna help inform whether you really need food right now or maybe you need something else. So at this point, you might be a 6 or a 7 on the hunger fullness scale. And you might say, well, if I'm not hungry, then why am I eating, right? What is it that I need? And now you can have a conversation with yourself around what are you actually feeling? Are you feeling boredom, stress, loneliness? These are all different emotions that you'll need different things to fulfill that food will not solve. It'll just numb and put it off for another few minutes until you face that emotion again. So start to tune in with your body and your own hunger levels and use the hunger fullness scale as a tool to empower you to make better decisions and also just drop into your body. And this goes hand in hand with cravings and emotional eating and stress eating. Sometimes we overeat and that's normal, but when we're overeating because of these things on a daily basis or week to week, it can start to sabotage and undermine our progress. I always recommend trying to address the core emotion at first. If you need to go for a walk or call a friend, do those things, drink water. And if you're still hungry, then definitely have a snack. Nourish yourself. Don't skip meals. Don't try to beat your hunger. Just honor your hunger and actually have food. Ask yourself, what do I need? And then give yourself what you truly need. And a lot of times it probably won't be food, but when it is food, eat. Perfectionism. You need to eliminate the all or nothing mindset in order to make progress. I always tell my clients, and I see this in our programs, our clients, our petite clients that do just 65% of our program lose up to 15 pounds. They're not going into it thinking, I need to do this 100% perfect. They're going into it saying, I'm gonna do the best I can for these 90 days. And they all lose weight with that mentality over the all or nothing mentality, which usually leads to nothing because we can never do it all every day. So try not to label foods as good or bad. Try not to beat yourself up because eating all types of foods are important in a healthy lifestyle, having that balance. And also think about what your body can do rather than what it looks like. Appreciate your capabilities and your power for more than just the appearances. These are ways you can sort of lean into the process of it all rather than just the progress of it all. Next, I want to talk about building consistency because petites take 2 times as long to lose weight. So you need to be in it for real. You need to actually change your habits. And we do this by making small changes over time. Don't feel like you need to overhaul your whole life, throw out everything in your pantry. Start with small little steps and build small little habits like little walks after meals. And that's going to significantly start to create a healthier lifestyle overall, but build and stack your habits over time. Because honestly, every little habit does add up. I also want to talk about consistency over perfection. Yo-yo dieting happens when we strive for perfection so much, then we fail and we start to try to overcorrect for the miss and we end up binge eating later. So you try to be perfect and eat perfect meals and then you end up craving something, you give in, but you are so hungry, you eat way more than you intended. And now that kind of yo-yo or that punishment cycle begins. So to break this, you have to let go of perfectionism, allow yourself some balance and forgive yourself. When you get back on track from falling off, you don't need to overcorrect. Just get back to a normal day of eating, like a normal amount of calories and a normal amount of exercise, not overdoing exercise, not overdoing the dieting, just getting back to normal. And working on healing this relationship with yourself will go a long way toward building a better relationship with food. Lastly, make sure you celebrate non-scale victories, okay? Take progress photos, look at your increased energy levels, journal about how you're feeling. Make sure you are just documenting some of the process goals rather than the progress. Maybe you got your first push-up, or you feel stronger. These are all things that are just as important to celebrate and will keep you consistent over time. Section 14, we have arrived. Let's put everything I've talked about in this encyclopedia of nutrition for petites into an actionable step-by-step plan that you can go follow right now after this video if you want. This is going to help you put everything into practice without feeling overwhelmed because I know it's a lot of information. There's just gonna be 5 steps following this video. Step 1, calculate your caloric needs by keeping a food journal, okay? Just journal what you're eating and find out what your daily calories are. Step 2, set your goals for your changes that you wanna make, whether you're following a new macro breakdown, following my macro fat burning ratio for petites, or you are eating intuitively and you're looking to increase your protein. Just choose what you're gonna change and set those macro goals or set those nutrition goals. Maybe you just wanna hit 100 grams of protein a day, for example. Step number 3 is to start planning. This won't happen without this step. Every Sunday, I personally go on Pinterest. I'll link my Pinterest below. I look up recipes that look yummy, that I could create healthier versions of at home or just make straight from Pinterest. I look at my own recipe bank inside our platform, the Powerhouse, and I start to write out what are my breakfasts gonna be and what are my lunches gonna be, and probably a few dinners as well. I will also then make a grocery list and I will start to log these meals in my app, which I've eaten pretty much all the same meals. I have a huge recipe bank at this point and they're pre-saved. So I just fill them in, breakfast, lunch, dinner, done. I have it mentally in my head. And now I have a grocery list that I can go on Sunday and get all the things that I need. Physically writing down your meals for the week in some way, shape, or form is going to make a huge difference in your ability to actually implement this. So don't skip this step. Step 4 is to go grocery shopping and prep anything you need. Sometimes I'll wash or pre-cut things, but for the most part, I'm just putting it in my fridge because I don't really like to meal prep. I like to meal plan and then just cook as I go throughout each day. Step 5 is to stay consistent week over week and come back to this video when you need a refresher. It's organized by section. If you're struggling with mindset, go to the mindset section. If you're struggling with your macro breakdown, go to that. But use this as a look back or a reference to continually to hone in on your nutrition as a petite to reach your goals. And I have an exciting opportunity. Right now, I am looking for just a handful of petite women 5'4" and shorter who are looking to lose 10 to 15 pounds in the next 90 days or less without doing tons of cardio, without dieting, without restriction. If this sounds like something you want to do before the new year, I'm offering a completely free petite body recomposition phone call and consultation to help you get started on this journey or keep going if you're already on a weight loss journey. This is a high value phone call where you'll receive expert insights from me and my team on information pertaining to you and your unique situation and goals that you won't find on the internet anywhere else because it is tailored to you and you as a petite. But the thing is, I will not be able to offer these forever, and we do have limited spots since we're really taking them on our calendars. So if you're serious about your goals and you want to lose weight before the new year, you can apply using the link below. You can click the link in the description. You'll be able to fill out a few quick questions just to make sure we can help. And then we'll get on the phone and we will get you started and set up for success to have your consultation and have some clarity around what's not working and what needs to change. And of course, if you would like to take it further, we can offer some options to support you and work in our programs together. I hope you guys loved this video. I truly am hoping it can build your education and lead to real change. And please just give it a like. It's probably the longest video I'll have on my channel. It was a lot of scripting, so give it a like if you like this content and comment below and let me know what your most interesting thing you learned was throughout the video. And I will see you guys in our next one. Bye.